Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and we are so thrilled to have you here today, whether it's Friday or Saturday. Welcome. Our show is Coexistence and Sustainability with Pet Psychic AMINAH. And for those of you joining us for the first time, you might be thinking, coexistence and sustainability, Pet Psychic AMINAH, I don't understand how they go together. Well, she is one person, but she has multiple interests. How about that? Today, we are going to be hearing more from her about understanding what your pets are telling you. Let's welcome the star of our show, joining us from sunny California. It's Pet Psychic AMINAH. Hello.
Hello, everybody. Yes, sunny day again. Just hard to deal with.
I love it. By the way, hello to your friends on Facebook who are joining us. We welcome you. We're happy that you're here. So, Pet Psychic AMINAH, you heard what I just said in the beginning. People are asking, I don't get it. Coexistence, sustainability, Pet Psychic. Can you share a little bit more about how it's possible one person, namely you, can embrace all of these attributes?
Thank you. You're right. When I am interviewing, or if somebody's basically interviewing me to see if we could work together, it gets a little complicated. All of us have the ability to do more than one thing. And it can be called multi-tasks person, or great at a job and get a lot of things done. It doesn't matter the name. This is just the reality. I get asked all the time, how did I become a pet psychic? I was born, and I've been talking to animals since I was a teeny little kid. And of course, when you're a child, everybody just ignores it, and it's cute and it's wonderful. And I'd mostly talk to them when I was alone, especially when I was in my middle school years. And it was just a thing that I could understand what they were talking about. But I also backed all that up with a college education, working with wildlife in captivity, lions, tigers, and bears, no elephants. They're a little bit big to get into a sanctuary, and those are very specific. So I backed up everything that I knew or thought I knew and got hands-on. I worked as a vet assistant. I'm a certified vet assistant, and really wanted to have an overall education to go with the natural talents and the abilities that God gave me. So I'm very, very fortunate that you and I bumped into each other, because you and I are so passionate about sharing information. Your whole channel, if I can tag it that way, and I apologize if it's not fancy enough, but it's really, really that simple. We're trying all of us to give everybody a leg up to say, you can do this. We can save the trees. We can save the animals. We can save the ocean, but we have to start now. And this is why.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for making it so succinct. And by the way, for people who don't know, Pet Psychic AMINAH and I met on LinkedIn. So for all of you out there who think that you can't build relationships, we have never met each other in person. We've been working together, 145 shows, which is over
a long time.
years. And we've learned a lot from each other and about each other. And I consider you as my friends. So the point is, you don't have to go somewhere in person and connect. That's not the only option. And so I would really ask people to open their minds and think about the connections that you can have with people across the world because of technology. So,
well, think about just using your words is, do you remember us all having pen pals?
Yes.
Or it was a thing when we were a kid. My parents were teachers. My dad specifically. My mom did it with the city. And we traveled. I've seen the United States, including Alaska, because I got that in like 82. I've seen the United States in its entirety 5 times. I had to narrow it down. How many times did we go there? How many times? And my parents had friends all the way along. They kept a pen pal and a stamp out, and it was a fabulous world experience. Because when I became an adult, I started traveling internationally, and one of my daughters and I really loved it. So it took we went on the Harry Potter tour with both my kids in England. Not in the US. We went where it was filmed. So there's just whatever your passionate is, whatever you think, oh, nobody will want to buy this or do this, give it a chance. But believe in yourself, because that's what you're seeing with Dr. Jacalyn and I sitting here, and so many, I'm sure, of all the other co-hosts. We started with going, I'd really like to share this. I'd really like somebody else to know this. And that's what we're doing.
And by the way, I really admire and acknowledge the fact that you do come here and share your expertise. You know how many people, I don't know what the term is, but there are people, and when we're not judging, we're just saying, the people on this channel want to help other people. Let's focus on the positive. They want to help. They are helping. They are making a difference. When we leave this planet, we will be able to say, this is part of my legacy.
Exactly.
It's part of your legacy. This is what we're doing. And I just admire you for that. We have a number of people who watch the program who are pet owners. I'm thinking about being a pet owner more and more lately. That's another story. And I've actually watched people interact with their pets, and I'm not an empath. I'm not a psychic. I can tell that the pet's trying to tell them something, and they just keep telling the pet to shut up.
Right.
Stop barking, shut up. But the pet wants to say something. So where are they going? Where are they off kilter here as a pet owner?
Well, not to be too harsh, but I'm going to be more blunt. We get our own egos involved. My pet's got to be the most perfect one. And if I'm in public, you see people do this with their children. They do it with their spouse. Wow, that one really, I'm like, why? Why are you putting up with that? And your animal loves you unconditionally and wants to be there with you. And if they don't, then you must be doing something wrong. And you really need to look at that. Animals are very logical about what's safe in their life, what is good for them. And I literally know of one client, she was so upset because the cat left, just out the door and never came back. And so with getting to the problem, it's without blame. We all have good and bad days. It's what resonates with you and why aren't you willing to listen to them talk or whatever. If you already decide that it's a stupid animal, wow, we got a long ways to go. And of course, you're not calling me to see what happens. You either dumped them off at a shelter or something and given it to a friend, hopefully that really, really wants them. We need to understand that everything's a conversation. I can go into a house or not. I do plenty of remote work, and I can see when the tail's up, when the tail's down, when the fur's out, when the coat is this. There's an entire body, the same with us, our entire body giving the signals of what I need. Please listen. So many people, sadly, are still stuck in, well, you just do what I say and we'll be fine. That probably doesn't work. If you're still having conflict, you're not listening. You're not seeing the sentient being that God created that can show love, that can show compassion. If you've ever had a pet that's curled up with you because you had a bad day and you're like, how do they know? Because everybody's energy, everybody gives off good, bad, sad energy, and they can pick out so many things. I can't tell you how many times I have talked to women specifically, but absolutely men get cancer and get breast cancer. Believe it or not, we all get it. We all have the possibility of getting it. If you have an animal coming up to you and bumping you in the breast, scratching at your leg, and you know you have a sore there, and you're like, oh, quit it, quit it, quit it, quit it. Guess what? They're trying to tell you something. From what I understand, having listened to them talk, the animals, it is really like rancid, burned out skin. It's bad. It smells really, really bad to them. And they can smell it at a very monocular size. Go to the doctor. What does it take the nose off your skin, or whatever that saying is? It only can help you. If the doctor doesn't believe you, go to another one, because it will save your life. And your animal wants you around. If you're a good pet owner, especially, they want you around for as long as possible. And they're going to do this to their kin. They're going to do it to their pack. They're going to do it with lots of love and care. You need to have it checked.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. And by the way, something I wanted to add to what you were saying is, and this is as a result of being observant and listening to what you have shared. When I go into the garage, obviously the garage door is down, but there's a space, and there's a place where the water can go out for the washer or whatever. Well, creatures could get in there. So every time I go into the garage, I say to myself, something could be in here. But if there's something in here, like a snake or an iguana or whatever it might be, it doesn't want to hurt me. Right. It's seeking shelter. It's looking for water. It's looking for food, whatever the case is. So don't go in there with some kind of attitude.
Thank you.
And then if you see something, just acknowledge it in a nice way. I'm not here to hurt you.
Right.
If you could stay there, I'm going to just not even do the laundry right now. I will not.
Exactly.
I'm going to leave, and please enjoy, but maybe part two, could you please leave? And that's my motto now.
And what's nice is places like yours that have a lot of wildlife, or people dumping their wildlife over. Oh, it needs the glades. And it's like, no, that thing's been hand fed its whole life. It's just going to die. When you take an animal that has never known the wild, what do you think they know where McDonald's is? No, they don't even know where the worms are. They know some can make it because they have something built in that they can find food and water and protection. Housing is what we would call it. But otherwise, you don't ever, ever, ever let go of your python or your rats or your bird or whatever the animal is, even a dog or a cat, and say, hey, you'll be fine, just go hunt. And they're like, go what? And if it's a pack animal, you have literally broken their heart because they are part of the pack. That's their go-to. You have to go in saying, okay, we're going to do this together. I want you to have a real experience. I want you to have an enriched life. Change the caging. Spend more time with your pets. Go and do an agility class. If you don't know what that is, like jumping hurdles and around what do they call them? Little tubs. And it's all timed and you can compete. There's just a million things you can do with your pets in this day and age. So why wouldn't you? It's the same thing as if you have a child who really is bored and doesn't have anything to do, and you get them involved in sports or you get them involved in the clubs, and then maybe you get involved with them at brownies or whatever works for you. What I want you to see is that there is a better option, but you cannot expect an animal who's been raised in captivity to all of a sudden know how to feed themselves if you let them loose. And this is a huge problem in Dr. Jacalyn's area. huge problem of people letting all kinds of animals go, and they're decimating, literally going extinct some of your native animals. Because here's a huge snake multiplied by 20 other people who let theirs go,
Right.
and they live forever, and now they're eating. They have to eat, and then, or they die a horrid death because they don't know how to adapt. There's nothing there with their genealogy that says, oh yes, I know, get under this leaf and that leaf. No, they learn that from their parents. They don't have any parents.
Right. They're on their own.
Yeah, they're on their own, going wing it. So please don't donate your pets or whatever you're tired of. I don't care if it's a parakeet or otherwise. You're dooming them to either a slow, painful death and or getting killed by, they don't understand cars, whatever. But it's not what they were, it's not their fault you got tired of them. But it is your responsibility to find a proper home for them.
Excellent point. I think we get confused as humans, and I'll just use myself as an example because I've heard you say over and over again not to feed the wildlife. And believe me, I'm not feeding any wildlife. I think where it gets confusing, if you're looking at the news or you're looking at social media and you see a story, entire family eaten by bear, alligator swallows human. You see these one-off stories and you think to yourself, like the person, I think it was a woman who was swallowed by an alligator. Did she go, well, here, alligator, here, some food for you? I mean, I don't think so. So what happened that alligator just decided to swallow a human? If they're not known to attack humans, why did it do it?
Well, there's a plethora of reasons on all hands and toes, and it can be they're having, let's say you have dolphins, you have alligators, and they're in the water where they are speed demons. Now, dolphins, the whole thing, the alligator can get up on the soil also, and they're fast. I'm talking about that tail is going, and it's going a mile a minute. You better get up on higher ground because they don't climb as well. Smaller ones, yes, but a big alligator will take a little bit more time. Yeah, we have to acknowledge, please, I hope, we have to acknowledge that these animals are sentient. They have feelings. They have plans. They have babies. They have troops and herds and every other version of a group number or name. And it's about how do they survive. So let's go with Dr. Jacalyn, you and I have talked about the golf courses or the greeneries or the parks and where alligators actually live. And people are always like, oh, we got alligators all over the place and Fish and Wildlife have to come and pick them up and and I don't like them and they make me scary. And it's like, dude, you just put a park in the middle of their swamp because it's not fit for housing, right? So how many times are houses now not sinking in the ground, especially in your area, but then they put up a park because then they can use it for something and taxes get paid and the city pays for the mower and everybody gets a job. Who stops and says, wait a minute, we've got a whole herd pack of wild animals, and it could be the storks, it could be birds of prey, the ones that eat worms and chickens and whole things, so pretty big birds, and alligators and snakes. There's a plethora just depending on where you live. It's the same where I grew up in the desert. And so you think, oh, there's no problem. Oh, wait, no, we had plenty of rattlers. We had plenty of rattlers. We had plenty of animals running around. After a time when the cities got bigger and bigger, they just basically, they were extinct. So what I loved is like that we have something called a horny toad, and it's got little horns on the back of its head. They are great for managing the bug population. Those snakes are absolutely built to keep small rodents and those types of things under management. What we don't get, humanity, is there is a finite amount of resources, everything. we're going through a drought, we're going through this, we're going through no this, whatever your this is. Oh my gosh, I'm paying, $12,000 more for a steak than I was a year ago. Well, it's possible that the cattle that they butcher have no grass to eat. So either the meat becomes less palatable or whatever, because they're not getting the grains and natural grazing or whatever would have happened in their lifetime. A lot of people have turned in the last 10 years specifically to organic food. So what we hope is that the food we're eating gets a chance to actually eat a vegetable instead of just grains. And then there's a balance. Not only are they free ranging, having their cattle go out and do what they do, it's just amazing. Manure is cleaned up and people buy it at garden stores. So can you imagine if you've got a herbivore eating grass, then pooping, and then walking away, and then pooping, and the soil is regenerated? When we get involved, when we stop and say, nope, sorry, going to, hang out over here, or no, it's too dry, and we lose the land of health, because it is all about where did your food come from. If your food is drinking alcohol every day, I can't imagine there's a lot of good ingredients left. So you have to think about that for yourself, but I have to think about it first, about what you're eating. Because that's what we found out about the sprays in, what was it, probably the 60s and 70s. They literally were spraying the fields of oranges. I actually have cousins that live in a field of oranges, and there was a point where they couldn't go out because they just sprayed. And this stuff was really, really good stuff for killing bugs. But what they found out is the people who lived in those areas had all kinds of problems with their new children, newborns, mothers drinking water, not knowing that it's contaminated. We've learned a lot, but every day we have something else to learn. Be open to it.
Yeah, I think that's so important, being open to it. Exactly. And as I said, I've learned so much from you. So for our pet owners out there who are not really able to understand what the pets are saying, you went through a few of the examples. And of course, when the ears go up or the tail. What about when the pet itself, your dog, your cat, I guess fish might be a little bit different.
If we're letting them walk around, well, I want a video. I want to see it.
With the dogs and cats for the moment, but when they're not feeling well, their behavior changes. I remember that I have it here. You've seen it before, but my little 3 dogs who all passed away from cancer. Oh. But it was obvious that they weren't feeling well. Like you could just see it. And then when one didn't feel well, the other didn't feel well, and so on. But what are some telltale signs of when your dog specifically or your cat specifically is not feeling well?
It is going to be either really, really hard to see it or really, really easy. And there's not a lot of middle ground. Everything has a middle ground. So it does exist. And the reason I say that is because animals are specifically built towards masking their illnesses. This is really important. If you've never heard this before, if you've just forgotten it, I want to reiterate. Animals, even insects, even everybody, trees, maybe not, but all of us, ones with blood and scabs and sores and whatever possible to catch the common cold. Animals specifically will mask their illnesses until it is either recovering, which they'll probably look like the same, or they die. Dr. Jacalyn, do you know why animals cover and mask their illnesses?
Is it multiple choice?
Yeah, there's 4 legs. Go.
No, I don't know actually.
Because in their world, you have to know who you're talking to. If I'm going to talk to a bull mastiff, big dog, really, really, really big dog, and I'm going to talk to a Chihuahua, I might actually be talking the same, because Chihuahua is going to have as much attitude as the bull mastiff, and actually the bull mastiff is going to be probably a little calmer, a lot calmer than the Chihuahua. So if I'm going to talk to somebody who has what I assume an MD, is going to be different if I'm talking to somebody who's never been in the medical industry, because a nurse is highly knowledgeable, even on that scale. These nurses are just amazing, absolutely amazing. So I put them together with the doctors. Sorry, doctors, but they have a whole skill set. If your animal stops eating, stops urinating, or pushes the food away, or any of this problem, you need to get to a vet immediately, because in their world, they mask their illnesses to survive. And that doesn't go away because they live inside. That doesn't go away because they've got pet owners. You have to be aware of what is going on so that you can at least do something preemptive. And I think there was a more deeper question in there, and I got off course on my tyrant. Did I answer your question at all?
Yeah, I just said, what are some signs that your pet's not doing well? So it sounds like if they're not eating,
right,
they're not drinking,
if they're sleeping excessively,
yeah,
if they're fussing with a part of their body, any type of rash on our skin, right? I don't know you, if I've been, where you live, I know I should not have said that. I've been attacked by a lot of mosquitoes before, and it's just like, this is miserable. So, but you can see the welt. Imagine your animal who has fur, or even little fur or long fur. Oh, good, you have a lot of fur. Saint Bernards, give me a break. That's drool and fur. And you should have time every day. Either you're brushing them because they like it, or you're brushing them because it's good for their skin. But guess what you can do? Do a check. Do a check on their fur. If they are constantly chewing their toes, you have usually have some kind of allergic reaction going on, and their toes just itch like mad. I've seen these dogs especially just chew, and one of my clients, they didn't notice it until, because just busy life, lots of kids, lots of 2 or 3 pets, and then all of a sudden there were scabs that were bleeding. So not only did the dog create the scabs because he's chewing, but then now they're bleeding on your floor, on your carpet, on the whole thing. I mean, that's when this family finally said, oh no, wait a minute, this is a big deal. So what's important is for you to be doing body checks. You be checking in with your animal. When you pet them, this is the easiest time at all. You pet them, go through their fur, figure out if they have a scab or a sore, or if they keep licking it, they keep chewing on it, it's just going to make it worse. Just going to make it much, much worse to cater to what do we do now? That's why vets are so important. So many vets now do phone visits and other things that they accommodate everybody's lifestyle. It's just wonderful how we've changed with not only the pandemic, but ways to get to each other. And sometimes it doesn't have to be face-to-face. We can do a video chat. But if your animals are chewing on their toes, chewing on their body in any way, shape, or form more than 3 times, because everybody has an itch. Everybody, we and animals, then it's time to see a professional and run the tests. And they have plenty of tests for allergies now. It is a given thing with a lot of animals. I've actually seen parakeets, 0 feathers. I've seen a macaw, 0 feathers. It was a bad allergy. And it took their homeowner, the pet owner, years with their vet to figure out the right feeding cycle for the bird. So can you imagine if you're a bird and you're allergic to seeds? They don't eat much more than that. So that's really why this is crucial, because then you're up against the wall of saying, well, what do I feed them? That's the whole issue. If you want to thrive, you and I both know we can't eat steak every day. We can't, eat green beans every day. We not only want a
We
variety,
can't
but
eat
our
chocolate
body needs our
every
variety.
day. We can't eat chocolate every day, my friend. I'm
Oh
just like,
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
we can eat. I do have a question for you about a medical condition, because this was something that plagued my little sweetheart Eiffel. And it used to really annoy some people. And I thought there's something going on there. And I
Mm.
took her to the vet. She used to drop her little behind, and then she would drag it all across the floor. And it turns out that her glands were
We're
packed and they
impacted.
needed to be expressed,
Yes.
which is not a pleasant thing to do per se. But why does this happen?
Well, what they believe, and I haven't looked up it in a few years, but what we're looking at is something like an ingrown hair, or it got at some point she got scratched or cut and it got infected and it sealed over to create the bubble, the blister, whatever you want to call it. We've all possibly had blisters, and the ones I would get on my thumb would be just the worst, because everything you do, the thumb's involved, and it fills with fluid. It's the body trying to reacclimate it to some kind of health. But if the cause is straining to go to the bathroom, and all of a sudden you've got all your body parts outside the rectum, or you've chewed all the fur off your feet because they itch so badly, then that's where we have to back up and say, okay, what are they near? For example, there are wonderful powders you can put on your carpet and vacuum, and they make the house smell rosy or clear or whatever. Well, just think, your pets then lick it because they're walking on it. These are not safe practices, no matter how much you love them. Infusion of a scent is still tough on their nose. So you have to be ready to make some life changes so that your pets also have a good life. It would be the same. It would be the same for me in being your children. We all love them. I hear how many times you talk about yours. It's just absolutely magical. And we need to follow up with what we see and not discount it. Oh, they'll get over it. Oh, they'll get a resistance to it. Well, not if it's already blistered. Now we're all into some real serious medical. They got to put booties on, and if they don't like the booties, they're cutting those off. Yeah, try to catch it before you do it. And my recommendation is reduce your home if your pets are inside, even for a little while. Even if you have a big dog and he comes in every afternoon, but he's a working dog and he's out on the ranch for the rest of the day. If you have any kind of chemicals like Raid, like Roundup, like all of these wonderful things that keep the bugs away from us, and or carpet powder cleaner, whatever, you risk not only the people in your family can also have these allergies, but your pets are in direct contact and literally licking it, because it gets on their paw, they lick it. It gets on their coat, they lick it. That's how they clean everything. And instead of you following them around all day long and washing them every time they lick themselves, because you'd never get ahead of it. You'd never get ahead of it. What you need to go to is organic sources, especially if your pet and your children and yourself is involved in having these reactions. Pull it back to zero, and then you can introduce them one at a time, like for 7 days, and see if anybody has a reoccurrence of the rash or whatever the side effect was. You gotta play sleuth on this, because we're all different on how we react to things. And it could be something you're smelling. It could be something you're eating. It could be something you're walking on, just to name a few modalities that could get into your skin.
Yeah.
Up your nose.
I so appreciate what you're sharing, because I just want to let people know some of the takeaways that I've had from you over the years. I was walking through a department store and they have this Christmas displays, of course, this huge display of these candles. I mean, giant candles for sale. And I used to, not the big ones, I used to buy the smaller ones and
Yeah.
put fragrance in them.
Right.
I stopped buying all candles, I think 2 years ago since meeting you. I never realized, like, even though they smell nice, first of all, when you do some additional research, they're putting certain chemicals into
Yep.
the air. But if you have any respiratory type of illnesses, or if you have pets or children, may not be safe. Stopped
Yep.
using that. Stopped using hairspray.
Right.
There's no hairspray, people. This is it. Because of the fact that the impact it's having on the environment. So first I
Right.
stopped with the sprays, and then I just stopped altogether and go, you know what? It's just going to be lifeless. It's going to be hanging. It's going to be whatever it is.
Well, it looks fabulous. I thought you still were.
No, I know. Absolutely not. And I wash my hair once a week. That's
There
it.
you go.
Conserving water. The other thing is, whatever you're putting onto the carpet, I love what you just shared, those little paws.
Yep.
They're
And then they do this.
Yeah, then they're doing this.
Because
Then
they're grooming all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to think about who you're dealing with. What are you dealing with? It would be the same thing as if you went to another person's home and you went in and say, oh no, the table is supposed to go over here and the chest to go here and your clothes should be hanging here. It's like, what are you talking about? It's my house and I can have it the way I want it. A pet doesn't have that. The pet can look at you with weepy, sad eyes and be a Saint Bernard all their life. But if you're not listening, if you're not watching what they're doing, and it's hard, you can't watch every second. But if I tell you now, if you're using these products, you need to be on watch for when it becomes a problem, because it's a problem from day one, but the body doesn't start to revolt with rashes, with heat, with smelliness, whatever, creating a yeast infection on their toes, whatever the manifestation happens to be. It is up to us to check our pets on a regular basis. I know with our 3 cats, we manhandle them. We woman handle them. I don't go to that one. And we get our fingers up in their toes. Now their nails are getting clipped, even though we have at least 3 cat trees. It doesn't do enough to keep the nails down, and we still have to get after them. Once in a while, we'll catch them on the, especially yesterday on the back of the easy chair. They're going, and I'm like, no, stop. I've told you 100 times, stop doing that. Once the tape fell off, they were home free. They're constantly going through their life, animals, experiencing it with their nose, their eyes, and their mouth. Just think of a little baby. They're testing it all out with their mouth because they understand that language at that age. What if they're a baby? They understand, oh, yuck, oh, they don't understand a pretty flower, pretty this, pretty that, whatever. You need to take the executive position of saying, okay, I want this life in my life for the next 10 or 15 years. How do I get us both there? Well, both of you don't eat Twinkies every day. Both of you don't, have chocolate every day. Whatever that is, go for a walk together, have a great movie night, all of those things. But how we're around chemicals, if you know they're there or not, you can get out of the way. You can choose to do it differently. If you're at a friend's house and you just ask, hey, could you just not spray anything while I'm there? I'd really appreciate it. Otherwise, I'd be more than glad to wear a mask and make it just like I'm going to come with a shirt on. That's just going to be what you're going to do. And ask them permission. And if your health is already compromised, maybe going to somebody's home that's using carpet cleaner and carpet spray, and then they're using lemon fresh joy on their cabinets. And I mean, you could literally be walking into what would it be at this point, as a science project?
Yeah, potpourri science project.
Yeah, because you and I both have the friends that wear perfume, wear scented this, and then they've got deodorant on, and then you get to their house and you go, wow, there's the candle burning, and there's The inn says, oh, but I just love them. I did too, until I figured out how many things were getting poisoned.
Yeah.
And it was like, yep, too high of a price. I got enough medical issues. I don't need to help them.
You know what's funny? I just want to interject this because I really wasn't even paying attention to this because I hadn't been to yoga in so long, but I started going back to yoga,
Mhm.
and I understand because I practiced yoga for 20 some years. I took a little bit of a break, but I understand the whole tie-in of yoga with essential oils and other things. But anyway, I went to this yoga class I hadn't been to before, and they literally, the instructor was burning sage and walking around. And then also at the end had these, I guess, washcloth towel things that were
Mm.
soaked in water with essential oils, and then walking up while you had your eyes closed and then putting, and I thought, yeah, I don't like any of this because I have allergies, but nobody asked. No one said, does anyone have an allergy to essential oil or to sage, or do you
Right.
mind breathing it in? And I thought, in this day and age, I think that's something we really need to be cognizant of because the people have so many issues with their lungs that we can't just be burning things and putting things close to people's nostrils without asking for permission. Am I wrong?
You're absolutely not wrong. And I think we as a culture, as we figure out, usually really late, obviously this teacher is not thinking about it's a problem, it's so good for everybody. It's not good for everybody. And everybody should have the right to say, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. It's like, I mean, let me give you a really bizarre example. If I'm going to go into a movie theater, I'm probably going to have read up on the movie I'm going to see. But I also don't want to see a slasher movie, and I don't want to. And they cut those out of the previews if that's what they're showing, to say, hey, and come back and see, Jason slasher person's like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. We have the right to have some idea of what's being used. And it would be very protective as far as the instructor letting everybody have a say on what they're doing or what they're not doing, because we're way past everybody just coming along like we were in the 60s and 70s specifically and just saying, okay, this is great, this is wonderful, you just do as I say because I'm going to do what the instructor says. If you have allergies or if you have nasal issues or whatever, you need to be able to be in a safe space and say, I'm really sorry, I can't be around that. It creates rash, it creates this, it creates this. It doesn't matter what it creates. If you don't want to be around something, you should have the ability to choose. And maybe it's you wear a mask and it filters all of that out and away. There's a give and take on everything. I don't want to make it all the teacher's responsibility, but she's introducing it, so she has 90% of it. And then you can say, oh, maybe I could put on, a good mask or this, or there can at least be a conversation. What classes do you not do that? Because I would bet you there's at least 5 other people that would rather not be around that. And they don't know they have an allergy or anything. But let's say you do this every time and you go 3 times a week or 2 times a week. Having more exposure to these things is going to bring out the problems faster because your contact will be there. It's the same thing as if you're wearing perfume or lotion, smelly lotion or something, and all of a sudden you break out in a rash. You kind of can back up and say, oh, I every time I do that, every time I watch that, put on that, I break out. I have heard, and probably you too, Dr. Jacalyn, that you can't eat sweets, you can't have chocolate, you can't have whatever because they're all going to have your acne. You're all going to break out. And I'm like, no, because that wasn't my truth. But maybe it's yours. Maybe it's yours. Now, since I was a little kid, I am allergic to caffeine. I can be around mosquitoes and bugs and paper and all that kind of stuff. But you give me any kind of caffeinated anything, and I was a kid, of course, I had a Coke here and there. Couldn't figure out why I was so sore and painful after drinking that. And one of the doctors said, you're allergic to it. You just can't have it.
Yeah. So many great points. And what I'm taking from what you just shared specifically about the yoga pieces, I'll actually approach the instructor and I'll say, by the way, this is what I'm feeling. I just want to let you know I won't be able to come back if this is the case. And I don't want you to take it personally. And the person might say, hey, I didn't even think about it. Thanks for letting me know. It doesn't have to be a hard, I'm never coming here again, this, that, and the other.
Well, or threatening with, you got to do it. You do this because this is what's good for me. Well, we're not on an island. And what you're doing is coming with respect for another adult and saying, just wanted you to know, loved your class, but I can't be around the sense it's too hard on my system, whatever. I wish you well. And that's what you're doing. We don't have to be, as coaches, this, and as team members and as bosses and in charge of your dogs. So your animals, they will run over you gladly to do whatever they want. So it's just like, no. But we can set the boundaries where people need to be there with you. And if they can't, then that's probably not a relationship you need. And as an instructor, it will be really valuable to her to know, hey, I'm having issues. Now she's the third person who said it, the second person. But if one person complains, it's still valuable. It's very valuable. But because you got to start somewhere, even if it's one person, even the one person is you. You don't need to know about the other 10.
That's right, because you matter. You matter, I matter.
Exactly. And your health has to come first. Otherwise, your life is going to be really messy. Really, really messy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, AMINAH, you look like you're frozen at the moment, but I know you're still there. So I'm going to spotlight you. Can you please share with our audience, especially thank you to AMINAH's network on Facebook, what's the best way to get in touch with you and who should contact you?
Absolutely. Well, just so everybody knows, I look the same, moving or not moving. So we'll figure out that for next time. Everything, my resume, all of it's under one place. Bridging Worlds, BRIDGINGWORLDS.US. So I try to put everything there. The links to our shows are there if you want to see any back shows and all the fun stuff I talked on. And I'm only on Facebook and LinkedIn, and love to hear from anybody.
Thank you, AMINAH. And I know you're there. You can see me. I can see you.
Yep.
And, excuse me. We wish everyone a beautiful weekend. And we look forward to seeing you next Friday when we'll have another exciting topic. Until then, please go to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV and Radio, and subscribe and be aware of all the programs that we offer every week. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.